Hey everyone, it's Dominic from the Primetime Treasure eBay store and YouTube channel. Welcome back to another video. I hope you're having a great start to your reselling week. I know I certainly am, and it got me to thinking, what are the top 10 reasons that I enjoy what I'm doing with regards to reselling? And if I could come up with 10 reasons, would those 10 reasons be something that I think could generalize to the average person who's starting off with reselling or thinking of starting off with reselling? And I'd like to try to put a list like that together. And so this is intended for the newcomer into reselling. However, if you're experienced in reselling, I'd like you to still stick around and watch this video, because I could only come up with 10 things for this list. So there's going to be some things that I'm going to leave out that you might think you would put on your list. And if so, I want you to drop that down below in the comment section, because I'd love this to be a repository where new resellers or people thinking about getting into reselling could come to and could just check out all these reasons, both from this video and in the comments section, of why they should get into it. So with that being said, I'm going to go over the list. The first two I'm going to mention are what I truly think are the top two. But after that, the list is just kind of not in any particular order, just the top 10 things that came to mind for me. But let's start off with number one, which is money. And that is obviously the main reason why people start getting into reselling. They're trying to find if they could have a quick, easy way to make some extra disposable income, get some extra disposable cash, go out to dinner, buy something fun that you want to get for yourself, based on some items that may be sitting around in your closet that you're not using. Some old shirt, some old video games, some movies or whatever, some books. You put them online. They've been collecting dust for 10, 15, 20 years. And lo and behold, they sell for $50. And you say, wow, that's amazing. I wonder if there's more stuff like that I have. And so you go and you could put a couple more things up and you have success with that. And then eventually you run out of the extra stuff that you have and you say, wow, now I got to go sourcing and actually finding inventory that I'm going to put online. And it kind of develops from there, and you could turn it into a part-time business. And if you're really motivated and dedicated, you could turn it into a full-time business, and one in which you actually start to have employees, and you could, the sky's the limit in terms of the money that you can make with it. You could just be real casual with it, make a few $100s a year. You can make a few $1,000s a year. You could make tens of thousands of dollars a year by yourself as long as you're motivated. You could make hundreds of thousands of dollars a year, even $1 million a year or more, if you really are motivated and have a team of employees in place and a really efficient business model where you're attacking reselling on various platforms. You really have to be advanced to do something like that. But point is, you can be very successful and bring in extra money. Now, for me personally, reselling is one of several jobs that I do. It's a part-time job for me, but I do put a lot of time into it after hours. I'm up very late at night doing this type of thing. Most of the time that I'm even making these videos is like 2 in the morning, so that's why some of them I look so tired. It's a little earlier in the evening tonight. So it'll look probably a little bit more awake to some of you. But I put a lot of time into it, and the reason I do that is because it really does generate a nice extra side income for my family that I can tell you I would not have had this otherwise. And be at the level that I'm at if I was not doing my reselling business. And I enjoy it. It's a lot of fun, so there's that extra bonus part to it as well. So financially is really the main motivating factor. So that's number one. Now, you probably already knew that. So let's go over some things that you might not know as much if you haven't done this yet. And number two is really up there for me. I mean, this is something that I just get a big kick out of, and that's just the thrill of the hunt. I cannot, if you've not gone through it, I cannot, and any reseller will be able to tell you, just the thrill of searching and finding something and unearthing something of value that you find for a low price, or you find hidden on the bottom of a box somewhere, or in a garage tucked under some area that no one was looking at, or buried in a drawer somewhere, whatever. or you just find something that just everyone else at the sale missed. There's a thrill to that. There's a rush that you get that's it's actually addicting. And once you get that feeling, you want to do it again. And it makes you want to go out, and it motivates you to just continue to to source and to get other materials that you flip. And there's a rush also to when you find that item and then you actually complete the sale, because now that's the part that brought in the money, that's bringing in the money. So there's like an extra additional rush to it that you get. One is finding it, and then it's actually, wow, I actually found this item for $10, and I just sold it for $175. I mean, that's something that has happened to me, has happened to many resellers, and that there's a rush to that, that is just a very pleasurable experience. And so, those are my top two reasons. Now, other reasons would be, it is definitely a fun family activity if you could get your kids involved in it, if you have kids or if you have a significant other, or even if you're not married, boyfriend, girlfriend, whatever, fiance, go out together, have some fun, scout the classified ads, look on Craigslist where the sale's going to be, spend a weekend, go out to the flea market together, get something to eat, get a snack in between, get some lunch, whatever, just make a day out of it. It's a fun activity at all the different types of things you could, find, and all the different places you could go to. And that's actually going to be another one of my reasons in a few moments. But yeah, it could be a fun family activity, especially if you have kids. The cool thing I like about it, I go out with my wife sometimes. I go out with my daughter, my son, and I try to teach them things about business, and teaching them, the principles of supply and demand, and of making sure you're sourcing low and selling high, and the advantage of comparative shopping, and the art of negotiation, and the skills involved in doing that, and the people skills and the networking skills, and applying that to other aspects of life that you're to help you become successful. So you could teach your kids a lot of lessons through it, and it'd be a fun family activity that you could do on the weekend. So that's number 3. Number 4 is there is a competitive aspect to reselling once you get a little more serious about it that I really love. I'm someone who played sports a lot when I was a kid, and I still coach sports once in a while as well. Basketball happens to be my main sport, but I just in general happen to be, forget sports, I just happen to be a very competitive person, period. So, I love to go to a sale and, beat people, to the item, and, get there on the list early, or, and sometimes, it just kind of, we have like a running joke with a couple people that I happen to see every once in a while. Like there's this one guy who hunts comic books down just like I do. And, one time I got to a sale a little bit late because I just couldn't get there in time just because of another job that I was at, and he got there earlier than I did, and sure enough, he's walking right out of there with all the comic books that were advertised. And so, there's a frustrating component to that. But at the same time, I see that same guy again at an estate sale a couple of weeks later, and I go up to him and kind of joke around with him and say, hey, I'm going to beat you to those comic books that are up there. And, sure enough, I wind up getting them. There's just a fun competitive aspect to that. And, and I enjoy that. And also, there's a kind of a fun aspect to, going into a sale late and, seeing the things that other people missed, the treasures that they left behind. There's an enjoyable competitive aspect to that as well. So that's the 4th thing. There's the competition part of it is definitely fun. Then there's the learning. This would be number 5, learning new things and researching our items. Sometimes you're just going to find an item that it looks really cool, but you don't know too much about it, and kind of get it on a hunch, or you get it on a whim, and you got to research. For example, it might be a statue or a figurine of someone that looks famous, and you bring it back home and you research it. And I had that happen once with a religious figure. I wasn't quite sure who it was. I did some research on it. It turned out to be St. Paul. It was a wooden figurine. I learned a lot about how to identify that it was St. Paul based on the the book that he was holding and things. And turns out that was something that wound up selling for $85, and I bought it for like $4 at an estate sale. So But that I love learning. I love the history component of it. So that's a lot of fun for me. You get to interact with people. When you're doing your research. People who are experts in different areas that you kind of have to go to, who could teach you about the item. So if you like history and you like learning, reselling is really fun for that aspect as well, because you're going to come across things like that you have to research and learn about. Even if you're selling things like clothes. I mean, if you're selling clothing that maybe you're selling old Levi's. There's some interesting historical things about Levi's with the big letter E in it, as opposed to a small e. And there's history behind that, history behind the clothing brands that you have to look up. So no matter what it is that you're reselling, if it's collectibles or clothes, whatever, there's historical cool information that you could learn and then pass on to others and talk to others about on the side as just part of an interesting conversation. So there's that. That's 5. So let's go through that's halfway done with the list. Let's go through some others, and one of them is what I'm doing right now, which is social media integration. There is a big reselling community online. There's lots of Facebook groups. I run one of them, but there's people who run ones that are much larger than mine. And many people are members of multiple groups, and there's lots of cool, fun, interesting people that you meet who have knowledge about, so many different areas. I mean, there's people just on my Facebook group that, some people like Laura Cohn who have lots of knowledge about, automobile items and cars and things like that, and car parts. And then there's people like the postcard guy who knows a lot about postcards, and there's a guy like from Sergeant Reds who knows a lot about Magic the Gathering cards. And so I could just keep going on and on with all these different different people who know a lot about different things. But you get to meet these people if you sign on to these social networks. That could be Facebook, it could be Instagram. If you want to follow me on Instagram, just check me out at Primetime Treasure, and so you'll see me there. I'm pretty active on that. YouTube, there's a lot of great resellers that you could find through YouTube. So I recommend subscribing to a bunch of channels, including this one. So you can get updates to your mailbox every day, and you could interact with people in the comment section. And so and you learn a lot that way. I mean, I've learned so many things from watching other resellers' YouTube videos and learning things that people have put into my own Facebook group or other Facebook groups. You're learning every single day, but you do it through social media integration. So you see a lot of these things that I'm talking about. Some of them there's like kind of a cross modality aspect to it, where you're learning. That was one of my things, learning. But then there's social media, and you learn through social media. So there's that part of it. That's a lot of fun. Number 7. And it kind of goes along with, you could integrate it with what I'm talking about with social media, which is networking. Networking is really important as well. Be it networking on social media, where you're, maybe making arrangements with other resellers about, deals that you might want to make with one another. Someone might have a lot of extra inventory in an area that you're interested in. Like maybe they have 500 ties sitting around that they don't want to sell, and they're willing to sell it to you at a cheap price. And because you built a relationship with somebody, you can make a deal with that person. So there's that. Or maybe you become a guest on somebody's YouTube channel because you started a channel yourself, and then you could start to promote your store or something like that. So there's that part of it. But even outside of social media, there's a networking aspect. You network with other dealers, you network with other sellers. Just this weekend, for example, if you watch my last video, I got a phone call on Saturday from one of my suppliers that I dealt with, who told me that he had a whole bunch of Jack Daniels frames. The couple told me this, so I went there to the flea market to pick it up. But that was all based on me building relationships and networking, and you have to be socially adept to do those types of things. So that's another fun aspect to it. I like that. I like building those relationships up with with all of you who are in the members of the channel and of the Facebook group, but also outside of that as well. That's a fun thing to do as part of reselling. It's one of the things I enjoy about it. Another thing I enjoy about it, speaking of interesting things, which would be interesting places that you get to go to. If you are really active in terms of your sourcing, you're going to go to all sorts of different places. You're going to go to all sorts of different cities. You're going to go to all sorts of different venues. You're going to go to auctions. You're going to go to estate sales. You're going to go to garage sales. You're going to go to rummage sales. You're going to go to cool churches. You're going to go to mansions. You're going to go to, houses that are dilapidated and run down. You're going to go to gorgeous communities that are built up, and then you're going to go to, like if you see yesterday in my YouTube video, you're going to go to some areas that are pretty run down. But you're going to see some amazing houses, and there's just memories that you're going to have of these places that you went to that you're never going to forget. Just like, there's a few that I have in my mind already, just of places that I've gone to that were just so cool in terms of just the layout of the house and just being able to explore all these little nooks and crannies. And just finding stuff, just like walking into a room and just, you open your eyes, it was like wide-eyed to see, wow, I can't believe all this amazing stuff that's in here that I get to dig through, and you could stay in a room for hours and just like digging through treasure. So again, that gets to that rush part of it, that thrill part of it that I mentioned earlier, showing how a lot of these things are kind of interrelated in some way. Number 9 is reuniting people with items from their past that they've been searching for a long time. So let's say you get into that room at that estate sale, and you find a trunk in a corner somewhere, and I've had this happen, and you crawl over to it and you take stuff off and you move stuff to the side, and you're the first person in 40 years to crack open that trunk, and you open that trunk and you find an item in there that no one has on eBay, and somebody was looking for that because that was part of their childhood, and you get it to them, and then they send you a message afterwards or a note on your on your eBay store or whatever, and they tell you, wow, thank you so much, I can't tell you, it brought tears to my eyes to get that item. I had that item in my childhood and I lost it, or someone stole it from me or took it away, and I'm so glad to have it back. And that's just a great feeling to have, to be able to do that for people. So there's that aspect to it as well. That's really a lot of fun. Number 10, which is also related to money and finances, is freedom. You will have freedom to do what you want to do on your own terms, as a chance to be your own boss. Now, it might not be that you're doing it full time as your own boss, but you know what? Even if it's not, for the 10 hours a week or the 15 or 20 hours a week that you are dedicating to reselling, for those 10 hours, you are your own boss, and you get to set the terms, and you get to set the, your hours in terms of what you want to do and how you want to dedicate and plan and organize your business. That's your time, and if you could grow it from there and expand out from that, then that's terrific and that's great. And then maybe one day you can do it full time, and you'll be your own boss. But always remember that even if you have a full-time business and you have employees and you're at the top, that you never really truly have no boss, because ultimately, even in that situation, you are going to have a boss, and your boss is going to be your customers. And this is kind of a little side note for a second, but always remember that customer service is top. You have to make sure you have your customer service as one of your number one priorities in terms of your business philosophy. So just always keep that in mind. But yes, you do have the opportunity to get a lot of additional freedom from being your own boss and running your own ship. So those are my top 10 reasons. I hope you found them interesting and maybe enticing to get you into reselling and to trying it. Admittedly, like any job, that's not for everybody, but maybe you hear these 10 things and maybe you're on the fence and you say, you know what, I'm going to give it more of a try, I'm going to give it more of a go, and see what happens. If so, if this video happens to motivate you in any way to continue into reselling or to venture into a little bit more, let me know that down below. I'd like to hear that. I get enjoyment out of hearing those stories, that these videos are helpful. And again, if you stuck around watching this and you're an experienced reseller and I left something out that you think's important, that's fine. Leave it down below. I'd love to see what you came up with, and I'm sure the other, the newer resellers would too. If you enjoyed this video, make sure you hit the like button. Also, make sure you come by, especially if you're new, and join the Facebook Reselling Resource Center. I called it that for a reason. I wanted to be a resource that you could go to, especially for new people, to to just learn new things about best practices about being a reseller. But as many of you know who are experienced, who are part of my group, that it's also a great resource for people who are experienced as well. So new, experienced, whatever, come by. Just hit join request, submit a join request, and if everything looks okay with your profile, I will let you in. And lastly, make sure you subscribe to this channel. At this time, I'm at 182 subscribers. I'm trying to get up to 200. So, if you like this video and you're not subscribed yet, just take the extra effort, hit that treasure chest that comes up at the end of the video, or just go out of the video and hit subscribe, and that will give you notifications that new videos have come up. That'll pretty much be it, I think, for this video. I hope to see you at the next one, and take care, everyone. Have a good night.